When I started my doctoral journey, one of the very first things that I did was I researched what did it mean to be well? What is wellness? You would be amazed at the number of different definitions of what wellness is and ultimately how incomplete those definitions really are. Most of them focus on physical health because it's something you can see. So we know if you look at somebody and you think, wow, man, that person is physically fit, they are well. Yeah, well, that's not always the case because sometimes the most physically fit people in the world can have real physical problems. We just can't see them. So the wellness definition was something that bothered me very early on in my doctoral journey. And over time, as I conducted research and started to read and learn about other scientists' approach to wellness and measuring wellness and trying to determine if wellness is something that could be built and created or learned, practiced, what I found was that most wellness training programs were unidimensional. In some cases, there was more than one dimension. So for example, most wellness programs focus on the physical because, like I said, that's the one that we're most familiar with and we're comfortable talking about our physical health and physical fitness. There were some research reports that combined physical health with emotional wellness, which is a bit groundbreaking because we don't talk a whole lot about our emotional health, but their results were significantly better than just focusing on the physical. Well, then I found a research report that combined wellness training in the physical world, in the emotional world, and in the mental, sort of cognitive world of wellness. And again, their results were even better than the ones before. So obviously there's a trend there. What I saw was the more thorough the training program, the more success the person at the end of the training experience actually had in their wellness journey. But then I struggled to understand, like, why did we stop there? Why did we stop with the physical, the emotional, and the mental health? What about financial? What about spiritual? What about our social health? So that's when I started to dive into the research that focused on the different dimensions of who we are as humans and what kind of capital, what kind of influx of wellness resources we actually needed to be as healthy as we possibly can. Our whole life approach. It has to encompass everything. And therefore, we have the 8 dimensions of wellness. And each dimension builds on and is dependent on other dimensions. So the stronger you are in one area, the stronger you're naturally going to be in another area. And by addressing all 8 dimensions, the impact to a person's happiness is tremendous. And the other thing is that it actually behaves as like an inoculation against adversity. So the healthier you are in each of these dimensions, the more wellness capital you actually have in your life, the less likely you are to have adversity that overwhelms you. You're going to learn how to deal with it. And so it's super empowering because these self-care tools are not difficult to access. It's essentially therapeutic resources that have been turned into training material. And that's, in a nutshell, what navigating adversity is. So the 8 dimensions of wellness include physical, emotional, cognitive, financial, spiritual, social, professional, and psychological. Now, I know that's a lot. I understand it sounds like a lot, but we've broken it down into incredibly manageable chunks. And what we have discovered is that certain ones kind of partner together to fight certain adversities. So the top 5 most common adversities that we face as humans in the mental health world are depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, and 2 types of stress in addition to post-traumatic stress: occupational stress and organizational stress. So stress that's associated with the kind of job you choose to do for a living, and then a different kind of stress which is associated with the toxicity level of the company you work for. So those 5 types of adversity we have been testing and measuring and to determine whether or not building capital in these areas has an influence over the adversities. So in a nutshell, let me just give you kind of our results right now. And this is based on trainee data for a little over 9,300 trainees at this point. So post-traumatic stress injury is most influenced by the building of cognitive and physical capital. So in navigating adversity, what we've seen is you build cognitive and physical capital, your post-traumatic stress injury decreases. Stress, whether occupational or organizational, is most influenced by the building up of your social and professional capital. The anxiety that we experience is most influenced by emotional and financial capital. And then depression, which is the most dangerous of these adversities because it's insidious and we don't always recognize it for what it is. It leads us into really bad coping behaviors like use of alcohol or drugs to mask our emotions. Depression is most influenced in an incredibly positive way by our psychological and our spiritual health. So by building capital in each of the 8 dimensions of wellness, what we're actually doing is defeating these adversities without even really focusing on them, because the tools that we use are super positive and they give us the power and the control back over our bodies and over our minds, over our financial situations, and over what we believe spiritually and how we practice that spiritual belief. There are so many amazing resources chucked into navigating adversity that I think that's probably why our trainees are so happy with the results that they're experiencing. And that's why we get so many really positive testimonials and thank you letters. And every single one of them is this most humbling experience, because it wasn't really what drove me to create this program. I never expected to have that kind of feedback from people. But at the end of the day, I truly do believe that you deserve to live your best life. And it's my responsibility, because of the work that I do and because of what I've dedicated my profession to create things that put the possibility, the potential in your hands. Now, what you do with it is totally up to you. I can lead, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't force them to drink. And that's absolutely true. What you put into it is directly proportional to what you get out of it. And so I can create these resources and make them available to you, but you're the only one who can use them. And when people use these tools, then they activate them in their own lives, man, the results are astounding. They're just astounding. So I hope that that's given you a little bit of an overview or an idea of what the multidimensional element, the whole life approach to navigating adversity is. And I welcome you to watch the other videos that we have on our website that speak directly to what makes our program unique and what kind of an impact that the research into the efficacy of this training program is really having on people's wellness and adversity levels.